Hello, algebra. Welcome to multiplying monomials. So we're going to talk a little bit about exponents. We haven't visited exponents in a while. So before we do that, we need to know what a monomial is. A monomial is a real number, so any numbers, a variable, or a product of a real number and a variable. Remember, product means multiply. Some examples of what a monomial would be: the variable x, the number 9, the number 3 times x, so the product of 3 and x, 2/3, which is a real number, times p might be an example of a monomial, okay? Some examples that are not a monomial would be, all right, let me erase that, would be x plus y, because that's not a product, it's a sum, okay? 7 divided by x, that's not a real number, and it's also not a product, okay? Because it's a division. And the radical of x, we'll talk more about radicals later, but the radical of x is not a real number, it's an estimated number, it's a decimal, and so therefore that is not a monomial. Okay, let's talk a little bit about exponents. When we're talking about exponents, we need to know some terminology. So this is 3 to the 4th power. That's how we would say that. We learned that first semester. And the 3 is our base. So our base is really important. It is the number, or the monomial, in this case a number, that is being multiplied. So if it's a number, then it's 3 written 4 times multiplied together. Or if it would be a variable, it would be x 4 times written together. And then the exponent, which is attached only to this thing that it's attached to, okay, that tells me how many times I'm multiplying my base. So let's look at that a little bit. So if I'm looking at c to the 7th, my base is c, my exponent is 7, and if I were to write that out, I would write c times c times c times c times c times c times c. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. Okay. Now, for number 2, what's my base? My base, because the 4 is attached to the parentheses, is everything inside the parentheses. 4x is my base. 4 is my exponent. And what does that mean? It means 4x times 4x times 4x times 4x. Now, with exponents, you guys mess things up sometimes. If this parentheses wouldn't be here, this x would only be attached to the little 4. So it would be 4 by itself, and only the x would be raised to the exponent. So what do I mean by that? If it was written like this, then only my x would be my base. The 4 would just be on the outside of that. Okay? So a little bit different notation here and here. Okay, 3 is my base, 5 is my exponent, so I'm writing 3 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? X squared, y to the 5th. I have a base of x, I have a base of y, I have an exponent of 2, an exponent of 5, so that's x times y, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All being multiplied together. Okay? So, important that we know how to expand our exponents, because we want to talk about some rules in this chapter. And we're going to be learning different rules. In this section, we're going to learn the product rule. And I want to just look at what happens here. 3 to the 4th power times 3 to the 3rd power. So 3 to the 4th power would be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And then I'm multiplying that by 3 to the 3rd power, which it would be 3 more 3s. Okay? So then I would just multiply that all the way across. How many 3s do I have there? If I wrote that in a different form, or if I multiplied those together, what did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 3s. Okay? So I could write 3 to the 4th times 3 to the 3rd as 3 to the 7th. That's what it simplifies to. And then that number is, oops, we write underneath, is 2,187 if I multiply all those 3's out. Okay? What about this? 2 to the 2nd and 2 to the 4th. You might have a Y in yours. Let me pause for a second. Okay, so 2 to the 2nd power is 2 times 2. And then 2 to the 4th power is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, how many 2's do I have there? 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is equal to 84. Okay. All right, is that 84 or 64? Nonetheless, what did I do? When I multiply any base by its exponent, or any monomial, times the same base, but a different exponent, I can simply add those together. So the product of powers rule is that when we multiply two numbers with the same base, we add the exponents. The base remains the same. And then if there would be coefficients in front, if there would be a 4 here and a 2 here, I would multiply those. That would be 8 if it was 4 and 2. So let's do a couple of examples. Applying my rule. Okay, always ask, do they have the same base? Yep. 5 plus 3 is 8. Fantastic. Okay, here's that rule. I've got two numbers here, so I need to multiply those two numbers. That's going to be a 12. My base is x. What am I going to do with my numbers? I'm going to add them. 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay. Number 3, I've got a 4 and a -4 and a -6. -4, -6 is going to be positive 24. Okay. I've got my r's. R. Okay. What exponent is on this first r? A 1. So it's r to the 6th power because I'm adding. I've got my x's. X to the 2 plus 2 is 4. And t is 3 here and 1 here to the 4th power. Okay? So what I am doing is I'm multiplying and finding the new answer. That's it. God bless.